Welcome to the Instagram stories for Tuesday, September 10th. I'm your host, Daniel Hill. Let's talk about what the head of Instagram did for his Ask Me Anything this week. We only have one question, and let's dive right into it. The question: does feed cover photos on the page mean anything at all? Do they affect anything? Let's back up and just give that question a little bit of context. When you create a reel, you have the option to add a cover image to the reel. A lot of people do this because it makes their profile page look very aesthetically pleasing. I do try to make cover images for my reels. I'm not great at doing it, but I think it does tie my page together. So if you go to my profile page, at a glance, you can see what all the videos are about without needing to click on each individual one and wait for me to start talking. You might not be interested in that topic, and based on the cover image, you can just keep on moving, and that's totally fine. A lot of people spend significant amounts of time on their cover images because they are professional graphic designers or other people who really want their feed to look as aesthetically pleasing as possible. When someone comes to their profile page, they will come across as an expert in their field or whatever it is that they do because their cover images are so cohesive. Apart from that, though, does it matter? Does it affect your reach? Here's Adam's answer to that question.
Mir's asking whether or not the cover photo matters when you create a reel on Instagram. And it does, but only on the margins. What a cover photo does is it makes it really clear what you're going to get when you tap on a reel. But you only tap on a reel when you see it in Explore or on someone's profile. And most of your reach doesn't come from those places. It comes from feed, it comes from recommendations. So it can help to have a really good cover photo selected, but only on the margins on Instagram. Hopefully this helps.
So the takeaway is it's not really going to help your reach, but if you want to do it because you like the way it makes your profile page look, then by all means, go ahead. Since I don't have any other clips of Adam Mosseri, I want to share another clip from someone at the Meta team, but before I do, a little bit of background. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that Meta Spark is going away as of January 2025. Meta Spark is an augmented reality toolkit that lets you create different tools and experiences within the Instagram and Facebook apps. For instance, those AR effects where people have things over their head or different filters that appear on their faces because of certain head movements, games, all kinds of different things. There is quite a sizable community of people who have been creating AR tools using Meta Spark's platform, but now that's going away and they're not sure why or what to do next. It seems like this was going to be such a big push for Meta, but they've pivoted away from it. With that background, I have a couple of audio clips from the CTO of Meta. He leads the Reality Labs team. His name is Andrew Bosworth, but people call him Boz. He actually started working at Facebook in 2006. He created the news feed and many early anti-abuse systems, a lot of which are still in production. His main role now is to lead Meta's efforts in augmented reality, virtual reality, AI, and consumer hardware across Quest, Ray-Ban stories, and more. So he has quite a high level of responsibility within the Meta platform team. Okay, with all of that background, the question was posed to him: can you give us more information about why the Spark platform is going away?
Yeah, Spark was a special platform and such a tremendously important part of how people were introduced to early form of augmented reality in lenses and effects. And obviously there's a rich kind of paradigm around that. It ended up, certainly when we spent a lot of time investing in it, we really thought there was a chance that this could be the key developer platform that we needed when you make the transition to mixed reality and augmented reality. And it ended up not being that. For mostly like technical reasons, but also for some paradigmatic reasons, like what is it actually like in mixed reality when you're trying to blend the physical and the digital. And it turns out it's pretty different from the model that Spark was representing. And in the meantime, it also, the lens effects themselves became a less powerful, kind of an important part of the platform. So that's it.
Apologies for the not great audio on that one. Boz was outside. Follow-up question: why wasn't Spark the future of mixed reality? What was missing?
Yeah, coming back to this, I'm super sympathetic to the fact that for people in the Spark community, there's not much I can say that's going to make them feel better. People who invested time and energy and passion into the platform and made it what it was, and built sometimes a business around it or a following around it. use it as a creative outlet. I don't think my answers are going to be very satisfying. Like I said in the previous answer, a lot of it was just technical. When you actually, if you think about what Spark developed, obviously on the mobile phone, when you're just getting like an image buffer in effectively, you can add some modeling to it, you can add some layers to it, and then you have an output kind of product to it. That ends up being pretty different than kind of these much more ongoing experiences. Much richer models were required. And when we looked at what it would take to build great experiences in MR and AR, we realized that Spark was the wrong technical foundation for that type of work. So we got to move to what we think is the right one to enable those.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, you're going to hear an interview I did with Lindsey Gamble. He's a creator economy expert. You're going to really like this. Stick around. Welcome back. Recently, I sat down with Lindsey Gamble. He's an influencer marketing and creator economy expert. He's right up to date on all the news of various platforms. I have used his threads multiple times for content for this show. I've even played audio clips of Lindsey on the show recently as well. And I sat down to interview him to hear about his experience and get some of his strategy. Here's the interview. So today on the show, we have Lindsey Gamble. Lindsey, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Lindsey, for people who might not be familiar with you, can you tell us who you are and what it is that you do?
So I'm a influencer marketing and creator economy consultant and advisor. I'm also a content creator. I spent some time on the platform/agency side where I was helping brands with their influencer marketing strategy, how to work with creators, what to pay them, what channels to focus on. And then where my specialty lies is driving innovation. So along with that, I also share content on LinkedIn and write a newsletter. I do a little bit of everything in the creator economy, but really passionate about it.
That's how I first came across you. I think I saw your content on Threads and jumped over to your newsletter from there. Your newsletter is just chock full of great information. Before we get to that though, I know you got started writing about music. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Of course. Thanks for the support on the newsletter. Yeah, my first introduction into the social media world was actually a hip hop blog that I started back in 2011. I was working a 9-to-5 job in clinical cancer research. And during that 6 or 7 years that I was there, I wrote a hip hop blog. And that blog was a way for me to create my own internship. I wanted to get a job in social media. At that point, it was really hard to get a job because I didn't have the experience. And so I said, let me bring together some of the things I love, writing and music, and created this hip hop blog. So covering the local hip hop scene, and then started covering more established acts like Kendrick Lamar, Earth Gang, and a lot of acts that came into Boston, and actually got the chance to interview those folks. Started to manage artists, started to throw shows and events. And that was a way for me to start being a content creator, build a brand, and realize that if you're passionate about something and you create content over time, you can create some opportunity, whether it's just being able to do something you love or to monetize it. And eventually I was able to take that and get a job in the industry. But it was a big part of my career and something I always look back on, kind of where I am today.
I love that story. I think about working in a cancer center being such a heavy day-to-day, and to have an outlet where you can be passionate about something and participate in it, be involved with the players. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I loved it. I think about it a lot as like the glory days of going to this job, 9 to 5, and then that night of going to concerts, or even during lunch or working on my hip hop blog and trying to build this opportunity and do something that I'm not necessarily making a ton of money off of, but I really enjoy it. And I think we look at where the creator economy is today, it's like a small representation of what people are doing today and the opportunity that exists if you're a full-time worker or part-time worker or whatever you want to do with your career.
I love that. Let's get into some of the strategy and some of the things that you share in your newsletter to help people to stay informed. One of the things that I've seen you have really great success with is Threads. Can you talk a little bit about Threads, what your experience has been like, and maybe if people are hesitant to get involved in Threads because there are so many other places to post already, why would you even bother?
I love Threads. I've been on Threads since it first launched. I've been excited about it every day. What I love about Threads is because it's connected to Instagram, and I was on Instagram when it first came out. It's really hard to grow on Instagram today. Everyone's struggling for reach because there's more people creating content, and there's just more attention to go around. So what I love about Threads is it connects to Instagram. You're able to still build off of like your Instagram presence, but it's another way to really share text heavy content. And that's like my bread and butter. And for me, when it comes to writing about social media and sharing updates, Instagram is really like the core, right? TikTok's there, YouTube's there. But if you think about influencer and creators, you think a lot about Instagram. And for me, I found it as an alternative to X and Twitter, where there's all types of things happening there. I still use that platform, but when it comes to reach and who you get in front of, it's hard. And so with Threads, I always, when I look back at kind of whether I'm a creator or a marketer, I'm always a person that likes to test and learn. And I think what we see in the social media space is that if you're early on and if you're early on, you have the opportunity to be a first mover where you can build an audience because everyone's so new and everyone wants to follow people or figure out what's the content strategy there. But also you get the opportunity to tweak and iterate over time. And what I've realized with Threads is that it's like a mix of Instagram and Twitter in a sense where you can share your thoughts, but you also want to create some visual aspects there. And I only have about 1,300 followers, but from the time that I grew to that versus some of the other platforms, it's been relatively fast. And I've actually had probably the most reach on the platform, had a post go 1.5 million. And I never had that across any platform, even though LinkedIn's probably like my biggest platform and what I have become known for.
We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to ask Lindsey exactly what it was that made his post blow up, what it was about, how he did it, and how he would reproduce that. So stick around. Welcome back. We're talking with creator economy expert Lindsey Gamble, and we were just getting into his experience on Threads about one of his posts that blew up and how he made that happen. That post that went so big on Threads, what was that about? Was it something drama-filled that people wanted to participate in, or?
No, here's the big secret. So everyone loves Instagram, right? Most of the people on Threads have a passion for Instagram, and there's a lot of Instagram creators. So what I realized that whenever I share updates or talk about Instagram, it's typically with a group of people that is Instagram focused. And so a lot of that content does really well. That actually piece of content was Instagram's update around being able to post carousel photos in different sizes, right? Something that is, I know as someone that does a lot of photography, like that's a big move where if I take a vertical photo or a horizontal photo, I don't want to have to do separate posts. I want to be able to combine those. And so I think the nature of this being a feature that people wanted, it being connected to Instagram and being in an Instagram focused environment on Threads, and also like it being a new discovery too. So relevant content, something people really wanted, and then also being timely, being the first person to actually discover that new feature, I think played into why it did so well.
That totally makes sense. And that was a very annoying thing previously on Instagram to have to try to zoom in and crop different pictures so that there's some kind of cohesion between them. It was just a big mess. That was a very necessary feature. I would love to know, do you share that same content to Twitter as well? And if so, how do you do that? Do you use a tool in order to push them to both places at once? Or do you copy and paste, which sounds horrible? What is your method and process?
So, I mean, to be honest, I haven't been using Twitter as much as I was before because I've been finding a lot of success with Threads. But I will repurpose that content to Twitter/X, whatever we want to call it today. And it's a different audience, right? Some people that follow me on both platforms. There's some people that follow me on both platforms, but I would say the people I've been able to, like yourself, like we met through Threads. So a different audience, and it's different on Twitter and X. And what I love about Threads is that you can dive deeper because you can do 500 characters, where unless you have premium on Twitter, you're limited to whatever the count is. And so that is more like, here's what's new, blah, blah, blah. On Threads, I can take a approach of here's what's new, and then here's a reason why it matters, or some type of additional commentary, which I really like. The value of what I bring as a content creator marketer is like not only telling you what's happening, but why it matters or the impact of it. So no tools. It's really taking that content. How can I chop it down to the Twitter format based on the characters and seeing how it does. But I would say Threads is the first place I'm posting now when it comes to text content, and then repurposing to Twitter/X.
Gotcha. If you were to talk to a marketer or a content creator and they were going to say, why do I need Threads? I have so many other places to post. What would you say is really the core reason of why this is such a key time to post on Threads?
It's early. There's a lot of opportunity. When these social media platforms come, you can get in. If you're an early adopter, chances are you can build pretty fast if you're putting out good content, but you also get the opportunity to test and learn and figure out, is this a platform that works for me, or should I platform that works for me, or maybe it's not something I can include in my strategy. And so you get those early adopter benefits, but also you can fail early in some cases. I think if you're a brand that's focused on Instagram, it's a no-brainer to be on Threads because they play so much together. And you can also reach a different audience. And I think the influencer marketer in me, I think the biggest missed opportunity from brands not being on Threads is to actually connect with creators, to see what creators are talking about. As a marketer, as much as I share content, what's been even more valuable is seeing what creators are talking about from a platform standpoint, from collaborating with brands, and just where their head's at. And so if you're working with creators, you can always talk to them one-on-one, which I recommend. But if not, why not go to the places of where creators are sharing their thoughts and give you inside information? And I think most brands should be creator first and think about those relationships. So that's a great way to connect with them. On Instagram, you're DMing people, you're leaving comments, but on Threads, everyone has a question, everyone's open to engage. It's just like this friendly environment where people want to talk with each other because they're all trying to figure out what works. And so there's that opportunity. I also think that Meta's been really successful with most of their apps, and they had this really great rise when it first launched, and then things slowed down. But if you look at the last 6 months, they made a lot of progress. I know it's one of the platforms that I enjoy as a marketer and a creator, and I think they're here to stay. Maybe they don't get the 1 billion users in a couple of years, but it's working, and there's a lot of a lot of value in the platform versus other platforms.
I agree with everything you said. I have a theory and I'd love to get your take on it. My theory is that so much of the best parts of Threads are happening because it's an ad-free experience. Do you agree, or do you think that's unrelated?
Yeah, and that's going to change, but I think for sure, like what other social media platform that you're on that doesn't have ads? What, Lemonade? I think they probably have ads for TikTok or something. But yeah, I think so. It's just a place where it's organic content. You really don't have a ton of sponsored content either, even though I'm a big component of brands working with creators on Threads as an extension of the influence marketing campaigns. But it's like this. It's like driving on the highway. There's no billboards. Like everyone's just driving by, enjoying it. You're not being marketed. You might stop. You might get off. Like you might say hi to the other person, but you're not really being sold to as much. That's going to change though, and I think it should change for marketers to be able to tap into these audiences through paid ads, and then also too, it's an opportunity for creators when there's ad format, especially today. Most times, marketers are going to partner with creators on the actual content to produce, to amplify, or even better, the Meta's partnership ads. So not only can you partner with creators on Threads for organic content, but eventually you'll be able to boost that content. And that means more money for creators when it comes to content usage and rights.
That's a good point. I hate ads so much that I have been really enjoying the ad-free experience of Threads. It makes every other platform, like when you watch stories and there's an ad every 3 stories or every 2 stories, and you realize how much you hate that and how much we've become accustomed to it. But yet Threads having that ad-free experience, I personally love it. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to ask Lindsey how he stays up to date on all the social media news that he shares with his audience. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We are talking with creator economy expert Lindsey Gamble, and I was just asking him how it is that he stays up to date on social media news. Let's change gears a little bit. I want to talk about your newsletter, which is just full of information for marketers and content creators to stay up on all the trends in social media. But when it comes to the news that has to do with social media, Instagram just rolled out this new feature. TikTok is changing this. Whatever changes there are, why is it so important for marketers and content creators to stay up on all these news things and changes and features?
They can have a big impact. It's not as important to know every little new feature, every new tool each week. But over time, as you start to see what a platform's invested in, you start to understand what they really care about. And you can reverse engineer that and utilize or take advantage of it when you're thinking about building your audience or monetizing that. And so one example is Instagram. Everything it's been putting out recently has been related to direct messages. And once I start to see a couple different features around that, I'm like, okay, all right, there's something there. And I think probably for 3 straight weeks, Adam Missouri has come out and talked about the importance of shareable content and how content that brings people together and encourages them to share through direct messages aligns with its mission. And so we've seen the recent launch of notes on feed posts and reels, just another way for people to connect over content, be able to share content. Like you start to understand as a brand and creator where you should be focused on. You don't want to necessarily focus on content that generates likes or engagements. You actually want to start to create content that is going to encourage people to share it, which is different. Content that we typically share is content that touches on our emotions, could be funny, could make us mad, could make us happy. As you start to understand what the platforms care about, you can start creating content that leans into that, that's still natural to yourself, but gives you the opportunity to drive your audience growth, generate revenue, and just reach more people. And so as a marketer, I think it's important. I think especially in the creator economy, if you don't understand what's going on in the platform space, then you're not able to not only really know how to work on the platform as both parties, but also know what features you can use in campaigns when it comes to, social media campaigns or for marketing that can potentially get you more reach or give you a way to really be innovative with your marketing.
I'm glad you talked about the DMs and the shares because I do think that's incredibly important. If a brand wants to start making content that gets shared, what is the approach in order to do that? Because typically a brand wants to push a product or a service. And I don't know about you, but I don't often share services or products that I've seen with people unless it meets a specific need or the content is so funny or entertaining. That's the thing I share. I don't often share educational content necessarily with my friends or family. So what would you say would be the right way to approach that for shares to get more reach?
I think the first way is partnering with creators. Creators tend to think a lot different than marketers. They're thinking about how do I make this content engaging, where marketers are thinking so much more like how do we get people to buy this product? And you have to have a little balance of that. But I think if you lean on people that are creating content that is like really audience based as opposed to trying to drive sales, you're in a good place. When it comes to generating shares, it's tough. It's like I talked about, it's like something based on the emotions. But I think when it comes to like a product, it's like to highlight the key product features that you can easily read website. Like you can even work with a creator or your in-house team can showcase that product in a way that's like mind-blowing or like creative where, oh, like you can also use this product in this way. And it's something that's, oh, wow, like I want to share this. Or when it comes to like initiatives, right? Like I know, especially with all politics today, right? Like I think a lot of people are sharing content around that because they agree with it or they don't agree with it. And so I think you have to create content that is basically look as a market, what are people sharing with you? What would get you to share a piece of content and then pull the pieces on that? It's hard. Right? It's hard. But I would start with creators. I would start to focus more on content that people want to share as a way to provide more information. It's like really thinking about the emotional aspect of it and why you would share something and why your friends and family would share a piece of content with you.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely the right approach. It's tough to think that way because I think often brands are just, hey, this thing exists. Don't you want to buy it? And that's not the right approach. But I think how you said it, and especially partnering with creators who have that mindset already, hey, we're going to make something funny and entertaining, leveraging that as a way of looking at from a fresh perspective. I think that's absolutely the move.
And then I think too, a simple aspect is a lot of times there'll be CTAs to like, or a comment like, just change that CTA to like share this product with a friend that would enjoy it, or share this with the person that you want them to buy it for you for Christmas, right? Like sometimes you have to make it super simple. And we see a ton of content that's like purchase now. Like when you want to drive a certain action, you have to make it super easy for the person that's seeing that piece of content too.
Yeah, those are great suggestions. Lindsey, this has been great chatting with you. What can we look forward to you creating in the near future? And where can we follow your journey online?
Thank you so much. First of all, sign up for the newsletter. There's a LinkedIn version, so find me on LinkedIn, Lindsey Gamble. There's also a email only version on Beehive. You can find, probably just go to lindseygamble.com and you'll be able to find a link. But I think in terms of what I'm doing next, I recently went solo. So I left my job on the platform side and working with customers and brands and helping them with influencer marketing strategy, but also working with creator economy startups and helping them really build out stronger influencer marketing offerings and really take a really thoughtful way of catering to creators or brands, depending on like their tools and services, and just creating more content and trying to get some more video content up. I feel like I've been great with the newsletter and LinkedIn text, and I want to dive more into videos. Hopefully a lot more Instagram Reels, TikToks, and YouTube Shorts, and just more and more. But yeah, thanks so much for having me. This has been awesome.
That's great. I'll include links to everything you talked about in the show notes so people can get there directly without having to go many places. You can find everything in the show notes. Thanks so much for coming on,
Thank you so
Lindsey.
much.
Okay, that's going to do it for my interview with Lindsey. Be sure to check out links to everything we talked about in the show notes and come back next time for more social media news, strategy, and other things that I am 100% positive you absolutely need to know and cannot function without.
I'm not yet a member of the Instagram team, but my podcast covers many Instagram themes. But the name, image, logos are trademarks at Instagram and the LCC in the USA and every territory. Everything I publish independently until Zuck returns my DMs and starts to pay my salary. Not sponsored or endorsed, no lies, no fallacies. I use their logo with permission, not malicious or callously. No trademark violation, filling all criteria. Follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Daniel Hill Media.
Lindsey, I know you're into photography as well. How'd you get into that?
So I actually was a big time drawer, or like my first passion was drawing. And I don't draw as much, but I think shortly after college, I just got into hiking and I started taking pictures with my cell phone and eventually got a nice camera. And it's like a passion of mine. And I feel like it's a good way to get away from just being on the computer all day. And I've been able to turn it into some brand deals in the past, being able to work with brands like LO Bean. I was ambassador for Everyman Jack and some other brands over the years. So it's a great way for me to combine my creativity, my love for the outdoors. And so I'm hoping this fall to get some great foliage shots and get back on the trails in New England.
I love that.